Hey, what's up my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I have a special guest, my boy Doughty.
Yo, what's up everybody?
We're gonna talk about the 3 most powerful ways to raise your vibrational frequency. That's a topic that is brought up a lot in my comment section. That's essentially what we're all doing. The people who relate with this awakening process are, in a sense, raising their frequency. And my buddy here is kind of an expert with that. He's gonna share with you from his point of view. Yeah, no,
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. The 3 most powerful ways to do that. And in addition to this, we're gonna do another soulmate video. It's gonna be on his channel. So if you guys wanna check that out, just check out Doughty. He's got a YouTube channel. You can subscribe so you don't miss that one. That'll be out shortly after this one. And I'll let my friend here take it away.
Yeah, so first off, when it comes to vibration, understand that however we are feeling about ourselves, like our state of being has a great determinants over how we feel. And the way that I like to explain the vibration and how we feel is understanding this chart that came from a book called Power versus Force. And this is a book that was written by Dr. David Hawkins. It's kind of a legendary book in the sense like a lot of people reference the book in like other books, like I know Wayne Dyer talks about it in his book Power of Intention. And I got into it and started realizing and using this chart, and it's a very powerful tool that we can use towards understanding our level of consciousness. Now, let's, if you don't mind, let's maybe, we'll flash on the screen the chart of what it is, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of it to you so we can understand it more, you know, at a deeper level.
I'll get it up there for him, yeah.
Okay, cool. So as you'll see on this chart right now, you'll see that towards the bottom, there's emotions such as shame, such as fear, such as guilt, and that as you move up, you'll eventually move up the vibrational scale of emotion up to anger, and then up to neutrality, willingness, then you move up to love, and then eventually peace and enlightenment's at the very top. Now, the way we can look at this, and the way that Dr. David Hawkins found this out, is through what's called muscle testing, which is kinesiology. And he used this to determine and find which vibrational levels that certain emotions are, certain perspectives are, in order to find out, you know, how we can raise our vibration and raise up the scale. Now, when it comes to this, an important thing about it is that the way our mind works is it works in repetitive thoughts. And anytime we are having a certain perspective that's within this certain emotional realm, so if we have a perspective that's rooted in shame, fear, or guilt, the idea is that that will continue to perpetuate itself over and over again until we are able to transcend it and then to completely let it go. So the key and one of the most powerful ways to raise your vibration isn't so much about getting like a new level or a new perspective. It's more so about letting go of what no longer serves. So you'll notice that at a certain point in this scale, there is willingness and there is neutrality. Now, the moment and the most powerful thing we can do to raise our vibration is to first off forgive. Now, this means we must forgive ourselves, we must forgive other people, and when we're able to do that, we release all of these lower emotions, because if we forgive ourselves for feeling shameful, if we forgive ourselves for feeling some type of guilt, the idea is that by forgiving, what we do is we let that go. We're able to do that by neutralizing it, by seeing it from a new point of view, and that as we do that, we raise up this emotional scale so that we start to feel better. So
yeah, I agree. I think that for me, like he was saying, it kind of like combining a couple of things he mentioned, I find that seeing a situation that we might have resentment in from a neutral or just like a witness, an objective perspective that allows new wisdom about it to kind of come into play, rather than viewing the situation from the wounded or the victim mentality, which it's difficult to step out of. When you're the witness, then you can see, it's more obvious to see that why they might have wronged you, and you can see, you know what, it's you just see it from a higher place, like they're obviously in pain, they were struggling with something, I happen to be an unlucky recipient of the expression of their pain, but I have done that to other people, so in that I'm no different. And then it makes more kind of like a logical conclusion from that perspective, is it's forgiveness, and then the freedom to, as you were saying, not maintain that myopic thought loop that kind of
keeps on perpetuating itself. And that's something I had to go to, and that's one thing I'll touch on real quick, because forgiveness, it's easy, it might be hard to forgive sometimes, because a lot of times there's things that happen to us that may be very painful. But just kind of sharing a little bit of my own story, when I was growing up, between the ages of me being about 7 to about 15 years old, I had an ex-stepmom that was in my life. So she was in my life within that period, and in that period, she was somebody that was a very angry person. She was very abusive. My dad was a firefighter, or is a firefighter, and he was gone 24 hours a day, so a lot of times it was just me, my brother, and then her. And she was just a very angry person, and she took a lot of it out on me and my brother, and we were always in trouble for something. We weren't allowed to have friends, we weren't allowed to watch TV even. All we were really allowed to do was to work outside for 8 hours a day, go to school, come home, and that was pretty much, over and over again, that's what we did. So we went through a lot of pain, and then all of a sudden, when we were 15, I was 15 years old, my brother was 12 or 13, my dad divorced her, and when he divorced her, all of a sudden we had all of this freedom. We were allowed to actually have friends, and from that point going forward, of course, I was excited to get out of that and, have all this freedom all of a sudden. And years later, though, I realized that I had to really forgive her. And the way that I did that, and the moment I had this new perspective, is the moment I dropped all of that negative energy. And what it was is I realized that the only people that really abuse other people are people that have been abused before. I realized that her dad treated her the same way, so that was one of the main reasons she was taking that out on me and my brother. And having that perspective and knowing that people will always make decisions based on their own level of rationalization has been the magic sauce for me. And it's something I help a lot of people with, to see it from a new point of view, because if somebody steals from you, for example, they may steal from you, but understand that we don't necessarily have to take it personally, because it may have been their own belief in scarcity, or their own belief in not them, having the power to create the abundance themselves. So therefore they might see that I have to lie to this person, I have to steal from this person, or whatever it is. So once we understand that people are always doing the best they can with where they are, even if they're doing something negative, we can at least have that awareness and then bring it back within and say, I can forgive you because I see you're at where you're at. Not in a judgmental way, but you just are where you are. And then that's when we can transcend it, and we can start to then feel better about the whole situation.
Yeah, and one last thing before you move on to the next one is I found that same strategy works well for forgiving ourselves, saying, what?
Yeah, true.
Like to say, what? Sometimes that can be more challenging to forgive ourselves, but just like he said, to realize that I did the best I could, I was functioning with a certain level of consciousness and wisdom at that time, and therefore it made sense why I might have taken that action, but now I wouldn't have done that, but I'm a new person now and I don't have to worry about doing that. So the seeing it from that way, I think, is very valuable to allowing that forgiveness.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times we might always be focused on how to forgive other people, but forgiving ourselves is actually one of the most powerful things we can do too.
Yeah, I think it has the same effect on keeping the vibration low, whether we're resentful or dwelling on something we did and not forgiving ourselves.
Because it keeps us in that loop,
unpleasant state of being. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the first one. I'd say that's one of the most powerful things we could do to raise our vibration, is to get unstuck from those perspectives and to start to forgive, and we start to naturally raise up. The second way that I want to share with you has to do with understanding meditation. And I say this just from personal experience. I used to have what is fundamentally called ADHD, and it used to be hard for me to focus. But the game changer for me was when I was in meditation. I remember it was my second or third day of meditating. I learned about it because I had, had the harsh side effects of taking what's called Adderall, which is the prescription drug they give for ADHD. And this is when I was 21 years old, this is a while ago. And I remember that I was reading online the benefits of meditation. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot, because if there's all this science backing it up, I might as well try it. 2 or 3 days into it, the game changer, and I started to actually get the benefits of meditation, was when I sat down and I wasn't trying to control my thoughts, I was allowing them to be there. So it's like normally we try to control our thoughts. Normally we're focused on kind of blocking ourselves from, thinking certain ways, but the game changer was when I learned to neutralize them by seeing them from a neutral point of view. So instead of thinking, I can't think these negative thoughts, this is also, when I learned about the law of attraction, So I was like so focused on, I can't think these negative thoughts because I don't want to attract this into my life. So that would build resistance. But the key was I let the thoughts be there. I would, almost like we're at a park right now, and I love this analogy, I use it a lot on my channel if you guys have seen my videos, is sitting at a park bench and watching people walk by. You know, we watch them walk by, we can observe them walk by, but we don't have to follow them, we don't have to label them, we don't have to judge them. In the same way, we can just watch our thoughts walk by in our mind. We can let them be there. We don't have to chase them, we don't have to follow them, just allow them to be there, and that's when we neutralize it. So you'll see on that scale that we looked at, that halfway up is neutralized, or it's willingness, and when we develop that neutral point of view by observing our thoughts, we will let go of all of those lower emotions. So this is why it's so important to learn meditation, or it can be such a powerful thing, because then you take yourself out of the reactive mind, which most of us are, you know, I know a lot of times I catch myself because I'll be in a reactive mind, but then I'll bring it back to the center and I'll say, does this situation have to be negative or can it be neutral? And as I take my power back, I realize that I can see it from that neutral point of view, and that from that point, it's like we naturally raise our vibration because we're not focused on those habitual thought loops like we were talking about in the first one, and we're able to then feel better because of that perspective. So we transcend all the lower emotions by neutralizing and observing, and from that point then we can focus on love and gratitude and all the higher emotions.
Yeah. I think also just that meditation practice, or being conscious of those thoughts rather than resistant, can help with, for one, feeling peace in the moment. I was just the other day, yesterday, we were at this event and I got really kind of nervous and I had like a negative, worrisome thoughts, but I was also at the same time calm because I was not identifying with them. So I had peace in the moment of that. And also that neutral perspective, which for a lot of people it does require meditation. Like you were saying, I'm not naturally in the moment. I have to kind of train myself, but it's a skill I've gotten better at. And I noticed it's a good analogy is this book I read from this, I talk about it all the time. You guys know Muji. My boy Muji is a spiritual teacher, and he talks about, yeah. He's got this story in one of his books where he was a little kid, and in the area where he was living, people would go and they'd feed the pigeons at this park, and it got out of hand. There's so many freaking pigeons. They were pooping everywhere. It was just a big mess. So yeah, they said like, you can't be feeding the pigeons anymore. And what happened? For a little while, the pigeons would come, the negative thoughts or the pigeons, but eventually they were not getting fed by your attention.
Wow,
by the attention.
I've never heard that story. That's a really good analogy.
And a couple weeks later, no pigeons. So the neutral perspective offers peace. It offers you to raise your vibration, just as he explained, and also if you don't reinforce them, they will start to go away anyway.
Yeah. And so that's also one of the most powerful. That the number 1 and 2 are kind of intertwined because it's neutral point of view, seeing, you know, forgiving people based on their own level of rationalization. The third one has to do with focus and intention, and more specifically in relationship to gratitude. So if you'll notice, maybe you've had this experience in your life, or maybe you wake up and something happens in the beginning part of your day, and then it seems to be like whatever happened kind of, you know, spawns the next things that happen throughout the day, you know, like kind of synchronicity in that way. And a lot of that has to do with focus. And if we learn how to consciously decide when we wake up in the morning what we're focusing on, we'll find that then has a powerful effect over the rest of our day. And also when it comes to intention, setting intentions is good for not just, you know, understanding our vibration, but it's also good for creating what we want in our lives. You know, when we have an intention, we have a direction of where we're going. And a lot of people in general just don't have that intention. And I know sometimes I have to catch myself and I have to put the intention in the direction of where I want. And when we start to become clear as to what that is, we can go towards what we want. And the key is to be aware of the things that make us feel a certain way. So to be aware of how we feel in correlation with that. One of the most powerful ways I've found to raise my own vibration as far as feeling and emotion goes is to look for things to be grateful for. So when I wake up in the morning, I feel grateful for what I have in my life. I feel grateful for being able to do what I love for a living. I feel grateful for my family members, for my friends. And from having that perspective and that focus throughout my day, I notice more and more of it. And I remember, I forget where I saw this quote or I heard this, but you can't be focused and feel gratitude and feel negative emotion at the same time. It's just, it conflicts with that focus and that intention. So focusing on things you feel grateful for, focus on what you already have, and you'll also find more of that in your life. You know, if you focus on the abundance you already have, you'll then see more of that abundance in your life, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'd say focus and gratitude is one of also the most powerful ways to raise our vibration. And from that focus comes momentum, and with that momentum is the feeling, and we start to notice it more around us, and then it becomes more a part of our everyday experience.
Yeah, definitely, well said. Definitely, I won't even add anything to that. I'll just kind of quickly tell about like how I do that. But one of the strategies I use to help create that grateful state of being is a gratitude list, a very simple thing.
Yeah.
And I don't just merely write things down on the list. I write down 4 or 5 things most mornings that to be grateful for, but I will kind of like I will focus on them and meditate on them until I create an actual feeling of gratitude, which is a very high vibrational state of being. Because I know a lot of people I talk to, myself included, that do a lot of like inner work, it feels, in the dream state. So I can wake up, my mood is very random. I can wake up in a really good state or a neutral state, or sometimes I wake up with the lingering emotional residue of the darker delving into my unconsciousness in the dream state. So regardless, I try to take control of my state of being right from the get-go, because I know how much, like he said, if I can start the day off in a good state, it builds, everything kind of springs from that. You build up a momentum. But if I was to start within a negative, lower vibrational state, it would just attract things into my life that would reinforce it, and I could have I would have woken up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak, and had a miserable day. But you don't have to. You can choose, as you said, focus on gratitude.
Yeah, so just to kind of recap real quick, the first one is forgiveness. When we learn how to forgive by knowing that anything that has ever happened to us, or even something we've done to ourselves, it's come from the level of rationalization and the perspective that we had in the moment. When we start to see it from more of that neutral point of view, that's when we're able to really forgive someone else, forgive ourselves. The second one, as we neutralize our own thoughts, as we see that our thoughts really aren't good or bad, they're just simply thoughts, that as we do that, we then start to neutralize all the negative perspectives that we have, we start to raise our vibration. And then thirdly, as we do those other first two things, then we can focus in the direction of what we want. We can develop powerful momentum in the direction of being grateful for what we already have, and as we do that, we start to feel better. It increases our state of being, and then from there, everything changes. And one other thing I guess I'll throw in there that I think something we talked about as well is diet. Eating healthy also affects your physical body and how you feel. Drinking alcohol, or drinking good water, drinking water in general. A lot of people might be dehydrated. Yeah. Moving around and exercising, that increases your frequency. These are all little things that you can also kind of infuse into there that are very powerful for increasing vibration overall. So from a mental point of view, an emotional point of view, and a physical point of view, those are all ways that we can raise our vibration.
Yeah, and a good way to kind of do what he said. I know a lot of people realistically don't have a very healthy lifestyle, and the idea of like eating healthy, drinking water, juicing, smoothies, it's like a lot of people have an all or nothing mindset. But I would do, as a trainer, I would say, listen, you have to just drink more water. I would give them one thing, because I knew, just like he was saying, with the momentum, if you drink a lot of water, you're going to naturally, organically gravitate towards other foods that
more water-based,
mimic that state of being.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so you can just choose one healthy addition into your lifestyle, and it'll kind of have a ripple effect.
And notice also, if when you jump into it, you might not enjoy it at first, but as you start eating healthy or drinking more water, you start to enjoy it and you start to feel good, and it becomes easier as you go. It's just that initial week that you start doing it that it's hard, and then after that it becomes easier. So over time it gets easier.
It does. It becomes like I always use the analogy of creating a new habit. Like, most people don't really have to struggle to brush their teeth. Brush your teeth every day. You don't think about it. Sometimes you're not really feeling it. You just do it. Same thing with any habit. Initially, it's my kids. They don't like brushing their teeth. I'm trying to force them to brush their teeth. But eventually, hopefully, with any luck, they'll get older and maintain their dental hygiene. So
yeah. Cool, right on,
cool, man. Cool, but thank you so much for coming on. I'm always excited to bring him on. He's been in a couple of videos. We have a good synergy, I feel like.
Oh, for sure.
And he brings a lot of awesome
I appreciate
information.
It, man. I love what you're doing as well on your channel.
Thank you,
I think you spread the vibe, and you got a real high vibe, and I think that it's great to be able to share and do a video with you. So
yeah. So okay, we're gonna bounce, you guys. Remember, again, in a couple days, or it might have already been uploaded, but regardless, there's a video on his channel that's gonna be similar style as this, but it'll be on his channel, Aaron Doughty. Okay, have an amazing day, my friends. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll be in touch. Peace.